what do they inspire? So the rich array of Hindu art we study will all be devoted to the idea, how do you connect with the divine? The purpose of these temples that we will be studying and these sculptures are to bring the great deity present so that the worshiper can experience connection with that deity. So we're going to be seeing how there are different significant forms of temples and sculptures that activate that sacred experience. This will mean grand temples that are conceived as a dwelling place for the deity, such as here Shiva. And those temples will be both rock cut and they will be rock cut, carved out of the living rock, like the Chaitya Hall, as in the case of this cave temple of Shiva in Elephanta. But they will also then be constructed. Both will be used, as well as sacred sculptures that literally embody the deity in the temple, whether of bronze or of stone. So this slide is trying to organize for you a little bit the kind of monumental stone artworks that you see in relationship to a timeline. The Gupta dynasty period, this high point of Indian civilization, 300s to 550 CE, we will see an early temple there, which is roughly the same time that we see this amazing cave temple to Shiva carved out of the living rock. Because the history of India is not really a story of a unified dominant power controlling the whole subcontinent. After the Gupta dynasty period, I'm referring to post-Gupta regionalism to suggest that we can talk about like the Pallava dynasty period, but this is not covering the whole of the subcontinent. These are smaller regional dynasties. By 1000, we're going to see very grand temples that are associated with kings. And some of that will be associated with the Chola dynasty and their great metalworking tradition. But there's also a complexity between the southern and the northern story of art that we will see. So throughout Indian history, the region below the Vindhya Hills, this sort of tip of the peninsula, has its own distinct cultural history that's different from the north, right? And we've encountered this before. The north will continuously be in more contact with Central Asia. Iran, Afghanistan will have a strong impact. And so we're going to see that we're going to learn about two different temple styles, a southern style and a northern style. So be aware of that. So the Vishnu temple at Deoghar right here in the Gupta dynasty, that's a northern style example. At the same time that it is constructed roughly the same time here on the coast, the southern western coast, we have this glorious temple at Elephante, which is a temple to Shiva, one of the rock-cut cave temples that are created just after the Gupta period, and which show us Hindu art is in close relationship with Buddhist art. So there is a great deal about this rock-cut temple that is reminiscent of the Chaitya Hall. What is particular to its Hindu identity in worshiping Shiva is that we have monumental stone sculpture that makes the god present in the temple. And these are both aniconic sculptures and iconic. So this one is iconic. It is depicting Shiva's changeable forms, Shiva's many aspects, because again and again, we've talked about in Hinduism, there is this embracing of the one and the many, the unity of the deity, the unity of the universe is also expressed as a multiverse, as a multiplicity of ways that that deity manifests. And that includes an iconic linga shrine. So Shiva's powers of regeneration, the destruction of the world that leads to regeneration, are embodied in the sacred lingam, which is a phallic symbol. This is an unusual one, this polished sandstone, unusual in that it's a combination of a phallic symbol with a figurative carving So it's both iconic and aniconic. Classically, the linga is aniconic, a simple phallic form with a yoni, a vaginal form, to create a sense of unity of the divine, unity of the forces of earth and the cosmos. So moving north to Deoghar, north central India, to the Vishnu temple, that is an important early preserved temple, that is a constructed stone temple. So this is not carved out of an actual mountain cavern. This is built. But it's important to understand that this shows us the establishment of the basic concept and form of the Hindu temple, which is that the temple is understood as a sacred mountain, as the cosmic mountain. So the cosmic mountain appears in Jain art, Buddhist art, and Hindu art. The kind of cosmic, transcendent symbol. With that transcendence, there is also a sacred womb, the inner shrine inside this stone mountain. And by the way, this is more than 1,500 years old, so it has crumbled, and this mountain would have been more mountain-like and grand, and incidentally more phallic as well. With the inner shrine, which is a kind of womb where the deity dwells and receives offerings from the worshiper. So this is called the cell of the temple, this innermost sanctum, and it contains a copper box which contains, I'm quoting here from the sacred text, the wealth of the earth, stones, gems, herbs, metals, roots, and soils. And an invocation to the earth goddess is chanted to sanctify the temple. It is said to be impregnated with power. So the chanted mantras include, O thou who maintainest all beings, O beloved, decked with hills for breasts, O ocean girt, O goddess, O earth, shelter this germ. So beautiful that the earth goddess, the earth herself, is likened to having hills for breasts, to having the ocean as her girdle or belt. So this is understood to be a three-dimensional mandala. It is a cosmic diagram. This form of the mountain and the womb of the earth is how the cosmos interacts to create our human lives. And so the temple as a complex is approached through ritual processes of pilgrimage and circumambulation, similar to what we saw at the Great Stupa at Sanchi. So it's important to remember that all this marvelous sculpture and all of this fantastic symbolism of the womb and the mountain, with all of its incredible symbolism, this is not the whole of the meaning. The meaning of the temple is completed with the ritual practices. All of that is a kind of cosmic stage for the meeting of the worshiper and the deity, of the ordinary human and the sacred. So the temple has a sacred image, and this must be created according to Brahmin rules. So this is not the kind of image that we know of in our art world today, where an artist thinks, oh, I'm going to create an image of Shiva and I want to do it differently than has been done before. I'm thinking that I'm going to add X, Y, Z. Not at all what you want if you want sacred power. To have sacred power, you have to adhere to the rules that maintain the transmission of sacred power. So the artist must follow strict guidelines so that then the Brahmin priest can consecrate the image with an eye-opening ceremony so that the spirit of the divinity can dwell in the sculpture and see the worshiper. Because this is about darshan, seeing and being seen. The temple becomes a place where the human devotee can experience contact with the divine guide. So you bring puja, you bring offerings, flower garlands, you can see them on these sculptures. You might bring new clothes, food, cool water, lamps, anything that delights the senses is appropriate for offering beauty and affection and love to the deity dwelling in the temple.